Okay, so there are a lot of assessments out there that people are using for work and to assess personalities. The question is, which one is best for you, for your team, and for your company? I am Will Graham. I am a certified working genius facilitator. And today we're going to pull back the layers a little bit on some of the other assessments that are out there. And then, of course, you have this. If you recognize that symbol, you know that it's the Enneagram. And to this point in time, the numbers vary a little bit, but it looks like there are about 30 million people or more that have been assessed with the Enneagram. Generally speaking, the origins of the Enneagram, the original origins at least, are unknown. And as a result of that, the Enneagram can be mired in controversy. But I will say this. Of all the assessments I've taken, it is the most accurate of all the personality assessments. In the Enneagram model, each type has a set of strengths, a set of faults, a basic fear, and a basic desire. Now it's time to take a look at the 9 Enneagram types. There is type 1, which is the perfectionist. Let's take a look at their strengths, their faults, their basic fear, and their basic desire. The strengths of the type 1 perfectionist is that they are ethical, dedicated, and reliable. The faults, perfectionist tends to be critical and self-critical, and everything tends to be binary or black and white. They don't really see the gray areas or the color. A perfectionist's basic fear is to be bad or corrupt, and their basic desire is to be good or have integrity. Type number 2 in the Enneagram is the helper. The helper's strengths include caring, interpersonal, warm, giving. The faults are they don't usually acknowledge their own needs, and that's because they're so consumed with the needs of those that they're helping, hence why they're called the helper. The basic fear of the helper is being unworthy of love or being unwanted. The basic desire of the helper, it's just the opposite, it is to be loved, to be wanted. Type number 3 on the Enneagram is the achiever. Now, the strengths of the achiever happen to be adaptable and able to succeed, productive. The faults are an achiever typically feels their worth lies in what they can do or what they can accomplish. The basic fear of the achiever is to be worthless or insignificant, to disappoint. Basic desire of the achiever is to be valuable and accepted. Let's take a look at type 4, the individualist. The individualist strengths are creative, sensitive, introspective. Faults are they need to be seen. They tend to be jealous and moody. Basic fear is to lack identity or personal significance. That's the basic fear of the individualist. And the basic desire of the individualist is to be meaningful based on their inner experience. Type number 5 is the investigator. Their strengths include curious, insightful, analytical. The faults of the investigator tends to struggle to connect emotionally. They tend to be very detached. Basic fear is to be useless, helpless, or incapable. The basic desire of the investigator is to be capable and competent. Now let's take a look at Enneagram Type 6, the loyalist. Strengths of loyalists is that they tend to be committed, practical, witty, prepared. The faults of the loyalist tend to struggle with anxiety and self-doubt. Now, the basic fear of the loyalist is to be without security and support. The basic desire is obviously the opposite of that. It's to have security and support. Type number 7 is the enthusiast. Strengths include adventurous, fun, loves new experiences. The faults struggles with recognizing limits and overextending themselves. Basic fear of this type is to be confined or in pain, and the basic desire is to be happy and satisfied. Now let's take a look at number 8, the challenger. The strengths are commanding, direct, protective, take charge approach. The faults, confrontational, need for control. Basic fear of the challenger, to be harmed or controlled by others. Basic desire, to be in control and protect self and others. Then number 9 is the peacemaker. The peacemaker strengths, pleasant, laid back, accommodating. The faults tend to bottle things up inside and then explode later, which we actually call implosive anger, and they can be too complacent. Now, the basic fear of type 9 is to be disconnected, separated, or lost. Basic desire is to have peace and stability. Now, the Enneagram seems to be the most dialed in to assessing inner motivations and predicting the behaviors that result from those motivations. Now it's time for the main event. We're going to take a look at the model that we're comparing all these other models to, and that is the 6 types of working genius. As you know, this is a new model that helps people discover their natural gifts and thrive in their work and life. There are 6 types of working genius. There's the genius of wonder, the genius of invention, the genius of discernment, galvanizing, of enablement, and tenacity. Those are the 6 types of working genius. Now, the question is, what kind of work have you been naturally gifted to do? Now, each of us has 2 areas that are considered our working geniuses. In my case, that's my working genius continuum. That's what's represented in the green there. And then 2 hours that are considered our working frustrations, which you'll see on the slide there, represented in red. And then 2 areas that are in the middle that we neither completely find miserable nor completely joyful. These are our working competencies, represented in the gold. Now, what are the working geniuses? The working geniuses are the activities that bring us joy, energy, and passion, and we're good at. Working frustrations are activities that rob us of joy and energy, and we're not particularly good at them. And working competencies are activities that neither feed nor drain us, in which we can do fairly well, but for a limited period of time. Now, there are 3 phases of work. The 6 types of working genius model rest on the notion that with every project or initiative, there are 3 distinct phases, all of which require different geniuses to accomplish the work. The 3 phases are ideation, activation, and implementation. Now, this is the altitude of geniuses. This starts at the 30,000 foot level and goes all the way down to the ground or 10 feet off of the ground. In the ideation phase, that's where you see the geniuses of wonder and invention having the most input or value. The next phase is activation. These are at slightly lower levels. This is where you see discernment and galvanizing having the most input or value. And then last, as you get towards the ground, you have the implementation phase at 5,000 feet and on the ground respectively, where you see enablement and tenacity are the geniuses that have the most input and value in that phase or altitude of work. And one of the things I think really sets the working genius apart from some of the other models is the team dynamics. It's like, how do you get the different team members to work together based on their working geniuses? One of the benefits of the working genius model is something called the working genius team map, and what you're looking at here is a sample. You see all of the working geniuses, you see a box for each one. They're separated by the responsive geniuses on the left and the disruptive geniuses on the right. And here you have an example of a team and whose geniuses fall in which areas and whose frustrations fall in what areas. And then you see where this team is light on certain geniuses. For in the case that we're looking at here with this particular team, you see that wonder is very underrepresented here. But then you have a whole lot of discernment and quite a bit of enablement as well. When it comes to things like both wonder and tenacity, you see that there are a lot of frustrations represented amongst the team. Speaking of that, if you really want to give your team a gift, really consider a Working Genius Live workshop for your team. It isn't just a workshop, it is a leadership team experience. When you give them the gift of a Working Genius workshop, you give your people the gift of understanding their natural strengths and accelerate your organization's results. Just go to geniusworkshop.live. There you will see a menu of options for the Working Genius half-day event. Pick the one that most works for you. Again, geniusworkshop.live.